Hello everyone, I welcome you all for the course Engineering Metrology on the topic screw thread measurement and gear metrology. So this is the fourth lecture. So the contents of the today's topic are recalling of the lecture 3, and then we'll discuss the gear metrology and what is the key terminologies used in the gear metrology, and methods of measuring the gear tooth thickness by gear tooth vernier caliper method and cardal thickness method. And then we will summarize the today's topic contents. So in the lecture 3, so we discussed the effective diameter measurement of the screw thread. So we understood what is effective diameter. So it is the diameter of an imaginary cylinder that passes through the pitch line of the screw thread. So in that case, the width of the threads and the width of the spaces between the screw thread is equal. So what are the various methods for measuring the effective diameter? So we use the 1-wire method, 2-wire method, and 3-wire methods. And also we use the thread micrometer method. So 1-wire method is used if a standard gauge of the same dimension as the theoretical value of the dimension over the wire is available. So the effective diameter is calculated as D plus or minus difference of D1 and D2, where D is the size of the setting gauge and D1 is the measurement over the standard gauge, and D2 is the measurement over the wire. And if this D2 is greater than D1, we use the positive sign, and if D2 is less than D1, we use the negative sign. And then we discussed the 2-wire method. So in this, the effective diameter is calculated by using this formula. E is equal to T plus P, where P is the correction factor, and the T value is calculated as M minus 2D, where M is the dimension over the wires, and D is the diameter of the wire. And this correction factor value is calculated as for Whitworth thread 0.9605 times the pitch minus 1.1657 times the diameter of the best wire. For metric thread, and the correction factor P equal to 0.866 times the pitch minus the diameter of the best wire. So the P is the correction factor. It is the difference between the effective diameter and the diameter under the wires. So the T value can also be calculated experimentally by using the standard cylinder. So this is equal to standard diameter of the standard, and R1 and R2 are the readings over the standard and the readings over the wires. And then we derived the expression for the correction factor P as half of the pitch multiplied by the cot x by 2 minus diameter of the best wire multiplied by the cosecant x by 2 minus 1. So by adding this P value to the T value, that is dimension under the wires, we will get the effective diameter of the screw thread. And then we discussed the 3-wire method. So this one is a more accurate method compared to the 1-wire and 2-wire method. So we have the limitations in the 1-wire and 2-wire method. So in order to overcome the limitations, so we use the 3-wire method. So what is the limitation of the 1-wire method? So in this, the axis of the micrometer cannot be set perpendicular to the axis of the screw thread. And in the 2-wire method, the limitation is the So alignment is not possible in the 2-wire method. So in the 3-wire method, we use the 2 wires on one side of the screw thread, and 1 wire is on opposite side. So these 2 wires causes the helps to keep the alignment of the micrometer. So we can calculate the effective diameter equal to m minus d into 1 plus cosecant x by 2 plus p by 2 into cot x by 2, or m is equal to e plus d into 1 plus cosecant x by 2 minus p by 2 cot x by 2. So if it is a Whitworth thread, theta is equal to 55 degree, then the effective diameter is capital D minus 0.64 times the pitch. And if it is metric thread, E is equal to D minus 0.6495 times the pitch, because theta is equal to 60 degree. So upon substitution of theta is equal to 60 degree here and here, so you will get this relation. By substituting theta is equal to 55 degree, you will get this relation. And also we determine the best size of the wire. So as dB is equal to p by 2 into secant theta by 2. So for Whitworth thread, theta is equal to 60 degree. By substituting theta is equal to 60 degree, we will get the best size of the wire as 0.577 times the pitch. And also we can obtain what is the maximum diameter of the wire and the minimum diameter of the wire using these formulas. And then we discussed the toolmaker's microscope. So it is one of a multifunctional optical measuring machine equipped for external measurement as well as internal measurement of the length. And also we can measure the screw threads, profiles, curvatures, and angles, etc. So and also we discussed the various applications of toolmaker's microscope in the last class. Next, coming to this class, so it is called gear metrology. So as you know, the gears are the toothed wheels, so which can be used to transmit the motion or power from one shaft to the another shaft without any slip. So these gears are used in various applications, like in watches also we can use, in automobiles we can use different types of gears. So this is the first gear is a spur gear. So spur gear is the gear teeth are cut on the periphery of the gear blank, and these teeth are parallel to the axis of the gear. So this can be used to transmit the power or motion from one shaft to the another shaft, which are kept parallel to each other. So when we want to transmit the power and motion between the two parallel shafts, we use the spur gears. And another gear is called helical gear. So in this, the gear teeth are cut on the periphery of the gear blank, but the teeth are cut at an angle to the axis of the gear. So because of this, they can deliver higher torque. Since the more number of teeth is in mesh at any given point of time, so more torque is transmitted or delivered to the other shaft. So when we want to deliver the higher torque between the parallel or non-parallel shafts, so we use the helical gears. And then herringbone gears. These gears have two sets of helical teeth. So this is called the herringbone gear. So one is at right hand, other is at the left hand, measured side by side on the gear blank. So this can be used to deliver the high power between the shafts. And there is another one is worm and worm gears. So this gear is called worm gear, and this is the worm wheel. So a worm gear is a screw having a single start or multi-start threads, so which form the teeth of the worm. So the worm drives the worm gear or worm wheel to enable transmission of the motion. So the axis of the worm and the axis of the gear is perpendicular to each other. are right angles to each other. And then bevel gears. So these gears are used to connect the shafts at any desired angle to each other. So this is called helical bevel gears. So these teeth are having a certain inclination, but the axes are perpendicular to each other. The shafts may lie in the same plane or in different planes in the bevel gears. And then we use hypoid gears. So these gears are similar to the bevel gears, but the axis of the two connecting shafts do not intersect. But in the bevel gears, the two shafts intersects. But in the hypoid gears, the two connecting shafts do not intersect. So here they carry the curved teeth. These are stronger than the common types of bevel gears. And these gears are mainly used in automobile rear axle drives, like in large trucks. Coming to the key terminologies. So as we know, the gears are used in automobiles. So these gears are used to transmit engine motion to the wheels. Along with motion, these gears also transmit the power and load. So as the load is transferred, the pressure will generate at the interface of the two gear teeth. So we need to take care of the gears while manufacturing of the gear teeth profiles. So in that sense, we need to understand the key terminologies. So this is a gear, part of the gear or portion of the gear. This is the gear tooth. So here we have a base circle. So this is called the base circle. So it is the circle from which the involute form is generated. This involute form is generated. So here the involute form is generated from the base circle. So this is the only circle of the gear which is fixed, and this cannot be altered. And there is this base circle is also called dedendum circle. And there is a outside circle, so which passes through the outside of the tooth. So it is the maximum diameter of the gear up to which the involute form is extended. So it is also called the addendum circle. So, and it outside circle is also represents the diameter of the gear blank, so from which the gear is cut out. And then we need to understand what is the pitch point and what is pitch circle. So let us try to understand the two gears are in mesh. So let us, this is gear 1 and this is gear 2. So these two are in mesh. So these two gears contacts the flanks at this point, and if the gear rotates, so this teeth will contact to this space, this or flank at these points. Again, the another teeth will come in contact at the point. So where the gear teeth contacts with the another gear teeth, so that point is called the pitch point. So this pitch point practically cannot contact the gear exactly at this point. So it is called an imaginary point. So pitch point is an imaginary point. So where the two gear teeth will contact. That is called the pitch point. So if you join all the pitch points of all the gear tooth, so we'll get the pitch circle. So as pitch point is imaginary point, so pitch circle is also an imaginary circle. So pitch circle is an imaginary circle on which the centers lie of the two mating gears is called the pitch circle. So it is an imaginary circle which passes through the pitch points. And then there is a root circle. This is called the root circle. So it is the circle corresponding to the minimum diameter of the gear profile. But the gear tooth is generated from the base circle only. And then what is addendum? So addendum is the radial distance from the outside circle to the pitch circle, or addendum circle to the pitch circle. Radial distance between the addendum circle and the pitch circle is called the addendum. And the dedendum is, so it is the radial distance between the pitch circle and the dedendum circle or base circle is called the dedendum. So up to the root circle is called the dedendum. Next, pitch circle diameter. So it is the diameter of the circle which by pure rolling action would produce the same motion as the toothed gear is called the pitch circle diameter. So this is represented by capital D. And we need to understand what is pressure angle, as when the two gears are in engagement, the pressure generated between the contacts of the two flanks of the tooth. So let us consider the two gears are in mesh. So this is gear 1 and this is gear 2. And this line represents the pitch circle of gear 2 and this represents the pitch circle of the gear 1. Similarly, we have the another circle which is called base circle of gear 1. Similarly, here also we have the another circle. This is called the base circle for gear 2. Now, so these two gears, the pitch circle of the gear 2 and the pitch circle of the gear 1 is contacts at a particular point. That point is called the pitch point. Now, if you draw a tangent at the, it is a common tangent for both the pitch circles, pitch circle 1 and pitch circle 2. So it is a common tangent both the gears pitch circles. Similarly, so this is the center of the two gears, center line of the two gears. And if you draw a line passing through pitch point to the base circle, so it is also a common tangent. So it is also a common tangent. So this line must pass through this point, that is pitch point, and it should be the tangent to the both the gears at the on the pitch circle, both of the gears on the pitch circle. So the angle between these two lines is called the pressure angle pi. Pressure angle pi. So this is the tangent, right? Tangent to the base circle of gear 2 and gear 1, and this is the common tangent at the pitch circle. So this angle is called the pressure angle. So this, if you draw a line, so if you draw a line, let us, this is center of the circle. So this point is A, this point is P. This angle also forms the pressure angle pi. So here it is 90 degree, and this is the angle, and this OA represents the radius of the base circle, and OP represents the radius of the pitch circle. So from this triangle, you can write what is cos pi. So cos pi is equal to, so this is this OA forms the adjacent side and OP forms the hypotenuse. So OA by OP. So OA is nothing but radius of the base circle divided by OP forms the radius of the pitch circle. Or you can also write a diameter of the base circle divided by diameter of the pitch circle. Therefore, you can write the diameter of the base circle is in terms of diameter of the pitch circle multiplied by the cos pi. So this is the important relation. So pressure angle is the angle between the common normal to two gear teeth at the point of contact and the common tangent at the pitch point. So it is the common tangent at the pitch point. Okay. And this line, this common tangent at the base circle of the two gears is called the line of action. So the pressure or load is transferred through this line of action only. And then we need to understand what is backlash. So backlash is the difference between the tooth space and the mating tooth thickness. So this gap is called the backlash. And then what is clearance? So when the two gears are in mesh, so let us another gear is in mesh. So here we can find the clearance. So it is the radial distance from the tip of the tooth. This is the tip of the one gear tooth to the bottom of the mating tooth surface. This is the mating tooth surface. So this difference is called the clearance. And the face of the tooth. So the portion lying between the addendum circle and the pitch circle is called the face of the tooth. So this portion is called the face of the tooth. It is the portion lying between the addendum circle and the pitch circle. And what is the flank? Flank of the tooth. So it is the space lying between the pitch circle and the dedendum circle is called the flank of the tooth. And then we need to define circular pitch. Very important terminology is circular pitch. So circular pitch is the arc length cut by the two similar successive involutes on the pitch circle is called the circular pitch. So it is the distance between the corresponding points of adjacent teeth measured along the pitch circle is called the circular pitch. So this we can, so total circumference of the pitch circle is pi d divided by the number of teeth. That is called the circular pitch. PC is equal to pi d by t, where d is the diameter of the pitch circle and t is the number of teeth. And what is a diametral pitch? So diametral pitch is the number of teeth per unit diameter of the pitch circle. So PD is equal to total number of teeth divided by the diameter of the pitch circle. So this is the opposite to the module. So what is module? So module is the length of pitch circle diameter per tooth. Length of the pitch circle diameter per tooth is called the module, or it is the ratio of pitch circle diameter to the number of teeth. That is called the module. Module and the diametral pitch is inversely proportional. Okay. So module is equal to 1 by diametral pitch. 1 by diametral pitch. And what is the total depth? So total depth is the radial distance between the addendum circle and the dedendum circle is called the total depth. And what is the tooth thickness? So this thickness This is the thickness measured along the pitch line of the two opposite flanks of the involute of the same tooth. So it is the width of the tooth measured along the pitch circle from the intercept with one flank to its intercept with the other flank of the same tooth is called the tooth thickness. So this distance is called the thickness of the tooth. So this is half of the circular pitch. So tooth thickness is equal to half of the circular pitch. So circular pitch means, so it occupies the one tooth spacing and one spacing of the width of the space. One tooth space plus one space width is called the circular pitch. But tooth thickness occupies the half of the circular pitch. That is equal to half into circular pitch is equal to pi d by t, or half into, so here d by t is m, pi into m. And what is the face width? This is called the face width. So it is the width of the gear tooth measured parallel to the axis of the gear. And what is working depth? So it is the distance from the addendum circle to the clearance circle. Up to the clearance circle is called the working depth. And what is base pitch? So it is the distance. So it is similar to the circular pitch, but it is measured at the base circle. So it is the distance measured around the base circle from the origin of the involute on the tooth to the origin of the similar involute of the next tooth. So there is a base circumference divided by the number of teeth. Now we need to understand what is the involute function. So let us consider, so this is the base circle and this is the pitch circle. And here this is the one gear tooth we are considered here, one gear tooth. Of the gear 1. So let us, this is gear 1. Similarly, there is another gear. So gear 1 is symmetrically meshed into the space of the tooth of gear 2. So this is the center of the gear. So gear 1 and gear 2 are meshed symmetrically in the space of the opposite gear. So the involute function is the projected angle of the flank portion of the involute, projected angle of the flank portion of the involute. So let us, this is the pitch point. If we join this pitch point to the circle, and then there is a base on the base point. So we have, this is point B. If we join these two, so it makes the angle. So this angle is called the involute function. So involute function is the projected angle of the flank portion of the involute. Flank portion of the involute. So this is also involute. This is also involute. Now, in order to derive this involute function, so let us consider this diagram. So this is the AB is the part of the base circle. AB represents the part of the base circle. Now, if we unwind this AB, so this will cuts the pitch circle at point P, that is called the pitch point. Now, if you join the point B to the center, this line, if you join the P to the center, P to the center. So this angle is called the involute function according to this. And if you join A and P, it forms the line of action, part of the line of action. According to the definition of the involute, the arc length AB is same as this tangent length AP. So AP is equal to AB. Now coming to this figure, so here this AB, so this is AB is this base circle. So this represents the base circle. AB represents the base circle of the gear. And then, so here we have the 90-degree angle. So this is AB. If we unwind it, we will get the involute curve. And then if you join, let us, this is point O. So if you draw a line onto the base circle, that represents the radius of the base circle. So if you draw a line perpendicular to this OA, so this is OA, right? So here we have the 90-degree OA. If you draw a line onto the involute, we will get the point P as per this figure. So this way, here we have the 90-degree. Then if you join P and O, so this forms the pressure angle pi, and this forms the involute function. Now from this triangle, what is this arc length? What is this arc length AB? Arc length AB is equal to, so as you know, L is equal to R into theta, radius upon radius multiplied by this angle. This radius is equal to RB into, that is base circle radius, into theta is nothing but theta plus this let us involute function, or alpha, theta plus alpha. But as per the involute definition, AB is same as PA. So what is PA from the triangle OAP? PA divided by OA. What it gives, as it is 90-degree, and PA forms the opposite side and OA forms the adjacent side. So this will give us the tan angle pi. Therefore, PA is equal to OA into tan pi. But PA is nothing but the is nothing but arc length AB. Arc length AB. So that is equal to RB into theta plus alpha. So here what is OA? OA is again RB. So this RB gets cancelled. We will get tan pi is equal to theta plus alpha. Therefore, alpha is equal to tan pi. So this is right. This is pi. Tan pi minus pi. So alpha is the involute function, that is equal to tan pi minus pi. So this is very important thing you need to remember. So this will be useful in deriving the expressions. So the methods which are used for measuring the gear tooth thickness are, one is gear tooth vernier caliper method and cardal thickness method, constant chord method, base tangent method, and measurement over the pins or balls. So in this lecture we cover gear tooth vernier caliper method. So this is the gear tooth vernier caliper. So if we consider this one gear tooth of the gear, and this represents the pitch circle, and this radius OA represents the radius of the pitch circle. So here we need to find out the chordal thickness, that is W. So here W is changing from top to the bottom. From the top of the tooth to the bottom of the tooth, this thickness is changing. And we need to measure this thickness at a depth D. That means the width and the depth changes from location to location. So we need an instrument which can handle these both W and D measurements. So actually the chordal tooth thickness is measured at the pitch circle. That is, we need to measure the arc length AEB. So as it is a arc, so arc length cannot be measured. So there is no instrument to measure the arc length AEB. So that's why, so we need to measure the chord length ADB. So there is a small variation between this chord length and the arc length AEB. So arc length AEB is not equal to chord length ADB. So there is a small variation between these two lines. So as it is not possible to measure at point AEB, so we need to measure the chordal width at A and B, ADB. So it is possible to measure ADB because it is a linear dimension. So by using the vernier calipers, gear tooth vernier caliper, we can measure at a depth D, right? So it is located at a depth D. ADB is located at a depth D. So we need to measure the depth D, and at a depth D we need to measure the W. So here also we require one instrument that measures the D as well as W. So this is possible by using the gear tooth vernier caliper. So this gear tooth vernier caliper has the two vernier scales. One is vernier B, another one is the vernier E. So this D value, that is caudal depth, is measured with the help of the vernier B. And this W, caudal tooth thickness, is measured with the help of vernier E. So we have the blade or tongue, which is in the vernier B. So this can be moved and can be seated on the top of the gear teeth. So we need to set this distance D on the vernier B. And then by keeping this fixed jaw at point A on the pitch circle, and then by closing the vernier E, this movable jaw up to the point B, then you can measure what is the ADB. Instead of measuring AEB, we are measuring the ADB. And then you can take the reading, what is the main scale reading and what is the vernier scale reading. And then you can calculate as in the vernier calipers. Okay. So we can also calculate this D and W values, theoretical values of vernier calipers, theoretical values of caudal tooth thickness and the depth of the cord. We can also derive the expression for theoretically. And then you compare with the practical value. So here the vernier gear tooth vernier calipers will give us the practical value of the gear tooth thickness, that is ADB. And then you compare with the theoretical value. If there is any error in that, so that indicates there is an error in the gear tooth thickness. So tooth thickness by gear tooth vernier caliper. The tooth thickness is generally measured at the pitch line, but it is not possible. So since the gear tooth thickness varies from tip of the base circle to the tooth thickness, gear tooth thickness varies from the tip to the base circle. So the tooth thickness is measured at a specified depth on the tooth. So the gear tooth vernier has two vernier scales. One is vertical and another one is horizontal at right angles to each other. So the vertical vernier scale is used to set the depth, that is caudal depth, from the top of the surface of the tooth, at which the width W is to be measured. And the horizontal vernier scale is used to measure the width W of the teeth. So let us, how do we measure theoretically W and the D? So considering one gear tooth, this is one gear tooth is considered. The theoretical values of W and D can be found out and we can verify with the instrument. So from this figure, this W is a cord length ADB, but tooth thickness is specified as an arc distance AEB. Also the depth D is adjusted on the instrument, is slightly greater than the addendum CE. So this is CE. But whatever the measurement you made with the gear tooth vernier calipers is slightly larger than the addendum value. Width W is therefore called the caudal thickness and D is called the caudal addendum. So this D is called the caudal addendum and W is called the caudal thickness. And this accuracy of this gear tooth vernier caliper depends on the accuracy of the least count. limited by the least count of the instrument. And also here the jaws are contacting at the point A and B. So there is a wear on the two jaws. So let us consider the one gear tooth. So this is gear tooth profile, and this is the pitch circle. So AEB line, right? Curve represents the or arc represents the pitch circle, and we are measuring the ADB with the gear tooth vernier caliper. Okay. And if you join A and B to the center of the circle, and this is the angle, theta is the angle made by the half of the chord AD. So here W is nothing but 2 times the AD, right? 2 times the AD. So AD plus DB is equal to W. AD plus DB is equal to W. But AD is equal to DB. So it is symmetric. AD is equal to DB. Therefore, W is equal to 2 times the AD. But from the triangle ADO or OAD, so what is AD? So let us take the sine theta. What is sine theta? Is equal to AD forms the opposite side and OA forms the hypotenuse. AD by OA. So therefore AD is equal to OA sine theta. What is OA? It is the radius of the pitch circle. That is equal to radius of the pitch circle multiplied by sine theta. So now if you substitute in this equation, right, 2 times the radius of the pitch circle multiplied by sine theta. So here theta is equal to, let us, if you consider the another teeth, and what is the definition of the circular pitch? So it is this length is called the circular pitch. That is 1 tooth space plus 1 space of the width. So circular pitch is 1 tooth space plus width of the space. 1 tooth space plus this width of the space is called the circular pitch. So circular pitch is equal to, so it is the arc length is cut by the 2 similar successive involute profiles at the pitch line is called the circular pitch. So this is equal to, that is 2 pi by number of teeth. So 2 pi is nothing but 360 by n. Now if we divide this into, let us 4 equal parts. So this is divided into 2 under this gap, right? This space is divided into 2 equal parts. So from this point to this point is called the circular pitch. So if you divide into 4 equal parts, this is 1 equal, this is 2 equal parts, and this is 2 equal parts. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that is equal to 360 by n. So this portion is 1/4 of the circular pitch. So you divide this with the 4. So this theta becomes 360 by 4n. And what is module is equal to pitch circle diameter divided by number of teeth. Number of teeth. That is diameter of this is 2r is the diameter of the pitch circle divided by number of teeth. 2r by n. Now by substituting r value, r is equal to n into this is n number of teeth multiplied by this m divided by 2. So from this expression we can write m is equal to 2r by n. Therefore r is equal to m into n by 2. Now this r value, if we substitute in this expression, we will get w is equal to 2 into nm by 2 into sine 360 by 4n. So 360 by 4n means 90 degree. Therefore w is equal to, if 2 gets cancelled, nm into sine 90 by n, where n is the number of teeth of the on the gear, m is the module. If you know the number of teeth and module, you can calculate what is the caudal tooth thickness, w. Similarly, we can evaluate d value, caudal addendum. So in order to calculate the caudal addendum, so from this figure, d is equal to this OC minus OE, sorry, OD. OC minus OD, right? So this is the depth up to this. So OC is the total, right, up to the point, top of the point. And then OD is the up to the chord. So therefore, we want to measure the caudal addendum D. So this D is equal to OC minus OD. OC minus OD. So here the addendum is the radial distance from the pitch circle to the to the tip of the tooth, and its value equal to 1 module. So this CE is nothing but 1 module. What is OC? OC is nothing but CE plus OE. CE OE plus, this is nothing but CE. OC is equal to OE plus CE. What is OE? It is the radius of the pitch circle. The radius of the pitch circle is OE. And CE is nothing but the addendum. That is equal to 1 module. So therefore, OC is equal to R plus M. As you know, what is the R value? R is equal to Nm by 2, as we have seen in the previous slide, plus the module. And then we need to find out what is OD. So from this triangle, what is OD? So cos theta is equal to, as it is theta, so here it is 90 degree. So this OD makes the opposite adjacent side, and OA makes the hypotenuse. So this OD by OA. So OA is nothing but the radius of the pitch circle. So OD by R is equal to cos theta. Therefore, OD is equal to radius of the pitch circle multiplied by the cos theta. So here theta is equal to 90 by n. So r cos 90 by n, but r is equal to nm by 2 as we have seen in the previous slide. Therefore, nm by 2 cos 90 by n. Therefore, d is equal to OC minus OD. As you know, OC is equal to nm by 2 plus m, and OD is equal to nm by 2 cos 90 by n. So nm by 2 plus m minus nm by 2 cos 90 by n. So if you take nm by 2 common, you will get 1 plus, right? Here there is no n by 2. So we can invert this 2 by n minus cos 90 by n. So this is the formula to calculate the chordal addendum or chordal depth. So as you know, W value, chordal width, and chordal addendum or chordal depth. Theoretically, you can evaluate, and then you can compare with the practical value, which is measured by the gear tooth vernier caliper method. So this method is advantage is this method is simple and inexpensive, but the disadvantages are, as we have seen, this. But the disadvantage is, so if there is, so in order to measure the W at point A and B, we need to set the D value on the gear tooth vernier B. If there is any error in setting of the gear tooth vernier B, that reflects the error in the measuring the chordal tooth thickness, because W and D is depending on each other. If there is any error in the D, that causes the error in the W. Similarly, there is one limitation. And when we set the D value exactly on the vernier B, the point, the jaws of the vernier caliper exactly set at the point A and B. Suppose by any chance this movable jaw is not set exactly at point, what happens? So this exaggerated figure, this will touch at certain point, and then variation in the chordal tooth thickness takes place, or error in the measurement of the chordal tooth thickness takes place. So the vernier needs different setting for a variation in number of teeth for a given pitch. So as the W and D depends on the, one is module and the number of teeth, as we have seen in the formula. So W and D depends on the module and the number of teeth. As the number of as the gear size is increasing, or the number of teeth are different for large number of gears. So we need to measure for each gear of having a different number of teeth, W and D. So this process takes laborious and also a time consuming process. So for each gear having a different number of teeth, we need to measure W and D, because this W and D depends upon the teeth, number of teeth. And the vernier is not reliable to closer than 0.02 mm. So accuracy is limited by the least count of the instrument. The measurements depend on the two readings, D and C, each of which is function of the other. If there is any error in setting the D value, that will reflect in the measurement of the W. And also there is a wear takes place between the two jaws are contacting with the workpiece. So wear during the use is concentrated on the two jaws. That causes the inaccuracies in the measurement of the gear tooth. And we need to calibrate the caliper at regular intervals to maintain the accuracy of the measurement. These are the disadvantages of the gear tooth vernier caliper method. So this is the today's class. Now we will summarize the contents. So gears are toothed wheels. These are commonly used to transmit the power or motion from one shaft to the another shaft without any slip. And we discussed the different types of gears and the gear terminologies, which is very important for the studying the metrology. And the methods which are used for measuring the gear tooth thickness is gear tooth vernier caliper method, constant thickness method, cardal thickness method. And there is another method is a constant card method. We have the base tangent method and measurement over the pins or rollers. So by using the cardal thickness method, we can derived the expression for the cardal tooth thickness W is equal to Nm into sin 90 by N, and cardal addendum or cardal depth is Nm by 2 into 1 plus 2 by N minus cos 90 by N. So in the next class, we'll discuss the constant card method and base tangent method and the other methods. So these are the references we followed for preparing this material. Thank you.